Welcome to Hearts on the Frontier, where we share stories of courage, heart, and life on the untamed edge of the West. Today, we bring you a story of unexpected bonds, survival, and a secret that would change a cowboy's life forever. The sun had barely risen over the rolling plains when Jack McAllister, a seasoned cowboy with more years on the range than he cared to count, saddled up his horse and began his morning round. Jack wasn't a man easily shaken. He had faced storms, rustlers, and the occasional rattlesnake, but nothing could have prepared him for what he would find that day. He was riding near the edge of the timberline canyon, where the prairie met the forest, when he heard a faint cry carried by the wind. At first, he thought it might be the wailing of some lost calf or perhaps a coyote pup. But as he rode closer, the sound grew clearer and unmistakably human. Pushing through the underbrush, Jack stumbled upon a small figure huddled beneath a fallen tree. It was a little girl, no older than 7, her dark hair tangled with twigs and leaves. Her clothing was torn and dirty, but her eyes, wide and alert, held a fierce glimmer of life. Jack dismounted slowly, careful not to frighten her. "Hey there, little one," he said gently, lowering his voice. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The girl flinched but did not run. Instead, she hugged herself tightly and whispered something in a language Jack didn't understand. He recognized the rhythm, the tone. It was Apache. His heart sank. Lost children were one thing, but a child alone in the wilderness could not survive long, especially one so young. Jack made a quick decision. He lifted her into his arms, careful not to jostle her, and began the long ride back to his homestead. Along the way, he offered her some water and a piece of bread, which she accepted cautiously, eyes darting around as if expecting danger at every turn. At the cabin, he cleaned her up as best he could. He had no family of his own, and the little girl's presence filled a space in his heart he hadn't realized was empty. He gave her a blanket and set her by the fire, hoping to give her a sense of safety. Days passed, and the girl, who Jack learned was named Nayeli, began to trust him. She spoke very little at first, only the occasional word in her native tongue, but over time, they developed a routine. Jack learned to interpret her gestures and expressions. She seemed fascinated by the horses, the open prairie, and the way Jack could make the fire dance with just a few sparks. But Jack soon realized that Nayeli was no ordinary child. She had a knowledge of the land that surprised him, knowing which berries were safe to eat, sensing the approach of storms before the sky gave any clue, and even showing an uncanny ability to track animals across difficult terrain. It was as if the wilderness itself had trained her, and now she had come to him. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned a brilliant orange, Nayeli led Jack to a small clearing near the creek. There, she pointed to the ground and began drawing symbols in the dirt with a stick. Jack studied them carefully. They were intricate, almost like a map, but not of the land he knew. "What is this, little one?" he asked, kneeling beside her. She looked at him, eyes wide, and spoke slowly, as if testing the words in English. "My people, hiding, secret." Jack frowned. He knew the Apache tribes had been under constant threat from settlers and soldiers, forced to move and hide to survive. Could she be pointing to a hidden camp or a family left behind? The thought sent a chill down his spine. Over the next few weeks, Jack tried to reach out to the nearest Apache elders. He wanted to return Nayeli to her people, but every attempt was met with caution and suspicion. They were wary of outsiders, even kind-hearted ones like Jack. Yet through small gestures, offering food, keeping their location secret, and showing respect for their customs, he gradually earned their trust. One night, as he lay awake listening to Nayeli's quiet breathing, Jack reflected on how much the little girl had changed his life. He had been a loner for years, drifting from ranch to ranch, content with the solitude. But now, with her laughter echoing through the cabin and her tiny hand slipping into his, he felt a sense of purpose he had never known. Then came the day that would reveal the truth behind Nayeli's secret. He was helping her gather firewood when she suddenly ran ahead, stopping at the base of a large oak tree. She dug quickly in the soil with her small hands, uncovering a small, weathered box. Jack knelt beside her, curiosity piqued. Inside were trinkets, feathers, and a folded piece of parchment with delicate symbols. Nayeli's hands trembled as she handed it to him. Jack opened it carefully, and what he saw made his heart race. It was a message from her family, explaining that they had been forced to scatter after a raid and that Naeli was carrying the key to a hidden Apache stronghold. She was not just a lost child, she was the guardian of her people's secret. Jack realized then that his choice to adopt her was far more than an act of kindness. He had unwittingly become the protector of a secret that could change the balance between the Apache and the encroaching settlers. And as he looked at Naeli, he knew that their bond was not just of necessity, but of genuine love and respect. He spent days studying the symbols and consulting with trusted Apache guides. Together, they deciphered the map, revealing a network of hidden paths, shelters, and resources that allowed the tribe to remain safe from hostile forces. Jack marveled at the ingenuity of the Apache, and at Naeli's courage and intelligence. Word began to spread among the frontier community about Jack's discovery. Some were envious, others skeptical, but Jack remained steadfast. He had no intention of exploiting the secret. Naeli's safety and the well-being of her people were his priorities. One afternoon, a group of Apache women arrived at Jack's cabin. They were the elders and protectors of Naeli's tribe, and they had come to reclaim the child. But they did not come with anger or accusation. Instead, they came with gratitude. They had watched Jack care for Naeli, and they knew she was safe in his hands. The reunion was emotional. Naeli ran into their arms, but not before turning to Jack, her eyes shining with a mixture of sorrow and joy. She hugged him tightly, and in that moment, Jack understood that family was not only bound by blood, but by trust, love, and shared experiences. The elders spoke of the challenges ahead, the need to remain vigilant, to protect their people, and to navigate the dangers of the ever-changing frontier. Jack offered his help, and together, they forged an alliance that would endure. He became more than a cowboy. He became a guardian, a friend, and a bridge between worlds. Seasons changed, and the prairie witnessed the quiet growth of a remarkable bond. Naeli thrived, learning both the ways of her people and the skills of the frontier. Jack watched her, amazed at her resilience, intelligence, and kindness. She was no longer just a lost girl, she was a beacon of hope for the future. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, sharing stories of the past, teaching each other languages, and exchanging lessons from both worlds. Jack learned the rich history of the Apache, their traditions, and their songs. Naeli, in turn, learned the ways of the settlers, the logic of ranching, and the subtleties of frontier life. Their story spread slowly, quietly, carried by those who had witnessed it. It became a tale of courage, compassion, and the unexpected ways in which life can intertwine. Jack and Naeli proved that even in a harsh and unforgiving land, humanity and heart could prevail. Years later, the little girl who had once been lost would stand tall and proud, a bridge between two worlds. And the cowboy, who had found more than he ever expected, would look back on that fateful day in Timberline Canyon and smile, knowing that love and bravery often arrive in the most unexpected forms. So, if you ever find yourself wandering the wild frontier, remember that courage is not just in facing danger, but in opening your heart to those who need you most. And sometimes, the smallest among us can teach the greatest lessons. Thank you for joining us on Hearts on the Frontier. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of adventure, love, and life on the untamed edge of the West.